Hey guys, welcome back to yourstory.com. And as usual, I bring you some great corporate and some great startups. Today I've got a company that's been around for 20 years. They're getting closer to $100 million in revenues. They've gone global. They work with all the big pharma companies. I have the co-founder with me, Manish Gupta. How are you, Manish?
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming here. I'm really impressed with the kind of work that you've done over the last 20 years, simply because pharma is a subject that I don't understand. It's so complicated. It's got so many regulatory issues. But you've simplified the content, and that's also the business that you're in, right? Where you use automation to figure out content that pharma companies should use.
Yeah, so what we tell the industry, or the way we position ourselves in the market, is we tell the industry that we help life science companies bring out products to the market much more efficiently and more effectively by helping them modernize their medical and commercial operations and organizations.
Okay, whether it's for existing drugs or
existing drugs, new drugs, growth drugs, pretty much everything. And if you really see the pharma industry, what the pharma industry sells is not just the pill. Right? When they go to regulators, when they go to doctors, when they go to patients, they finally take a bunch of content. Right?
It's
Different
interesting.
documents.
You're absolutely right. You're sold content. That's how you buy medicine, right?
Correct.
Because
Absolutely.
you're talking about your ailment and the doctor's telling you something. It's all content.
Absolutely. When you go to, even when a pharma company is going to a doctor, they just don't take the pill and say, ask your patient to take this. They obviously send content in different forms.
I have ignored this kind of subject. You never look at it that way at all. I mean, how did you look at this as a business model?
So this is a very specialized area. When we started off close to 2 decades back, so first of all, we had this fundamental premise, and we still have that, is that various problems in healthcare could be solved by combining medical expertise and technology. That's our promise today. And when we pick a filter of which areas to get into, we think about where there is an overlap between medical expertise and technology, right? We don't go to any area which won't have the medical expertise angle involved. So we started there, and
this is way back in '99.
This is way back in '99, and one of the areas which we thought and when we started off, those were the days when you had to build profitable, viable business models to scale, right? So one of the clear areas where you could make an impact was in pharma companies reaching out to physicians to really promote their drugs through scientific methods, right? Which is typically called medical marketing in the whole pharma world. So we started dealing with medical content, data to simplify it for doctors, in some cases for reps and stuff like that. So we started building a business model from there. And then obviously things
emerged. And you
emerged.
also acquired one company in 2005 back then.
We acquired a company in 2005 which specialized in medical content, repurposed in the right way. When I say repurpose, bringing in tons of creative elements to finally make it really useful for physicians to some extent, but a great extent medical reps.
Okay, when tell our audiences, those of you who've just joined us, content is important for not just doctors but also for regulators.
Yes.
Right, and that's a very important piece.
Correct.
So people think they go to lawyers. People think they go to chartered accountants for the finance and all that, but for you, content is essential for all these stakeholders also, right? Correct. And you help them with this.
Yeah, so if you see a pharma company, when they are doing clinical trials, and clinical trials takes close to 7-8 years.
Correct.
If you include all phases, it costs a couple of $1 billion. The most touted, or the recently touted number for a new drug, $2.6 billion. Most of it goes to the whole trial process.
And then the marketing piece after that.
Marketing is after that, right? Yes. The initial cost is $2.6 billion. Most of it is the whole development trial thing. So there is data which is generated through this trials, but you don't just dump the data through a regulator. There are a bunch of documents which you have to create, and those documents is what you take to the FDA, right? So that's where again content comes in.
Okay. So this was actually in the old days, the Americans would have looked at it as a cost arbitrage. Let's do this in India because it's cheaper.
Correct.
But now it's becoming more strategic.
Absolutely.
And after 2010, you're becoming more of a product company with a lot of proprietary tools. You always had proprietary tools,
correct,
but now it's going the automated route, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you want to tell us how? What's happened after 2010? By the way, guys, they've also made 5 acquisitions. There's one more that they're announcing.
6.
So 6 acquisitions. There's one more that's happening soon.
Sure.
You want to talk about the timeline in 2010 and now?
Yeah, so interestingly, we were close to 200 people in 2010. Today we are close to 2200, right? So it took us more than a decade to get to this level. And what fundamentally changed for the pharma industry, while I would love to take a lot of credit for it ourselves, but there's a fundamental change in the structure of the pharma industry which started occurring from that 2009-10 period.
Consolidation.
Actually, more than consolidation, what really happened, the pharma industry or life science industry in general is built on what is called, or used to be built, actually, let me correct myself, on what is called the blockbuster model.
Okay.
That you would do a lot of stuff, but a few products will become very, very large. And the most touted or storied example is of Pfizer having this product called Lipitor,
Correct,
which all of us would have heard of.
Yeah.
So Lipitor was a $15 billion product by itself. Right, and most pharma companies had these very large products, very profitable model. Somewhere in that 2009 to 13 period, it's termed as the era where a patent cliff happened for pretty much the industry. So most of the pharma companies, large pharma companies, started losing their patents, which meant that the revenues for those products plummeted. Right. If you think about it, these large blockbuster products were in areas which impacted many patients.
Correct.
Now, more and more, the new product launches are happening in areas where the number of patients is less, right? Oncology, many rare diseases. So, by definition, what happens is, given the number of patients is less, and drugs are already very expensive, oncology therapy could be anywhere between $500,000 to $1 million in the United States, at least now. So, the product sizes started getting reduced. In fact, I was just looking at this Nature article some time back, where over the last 20 years, the projected peak sales of a product has halved.
Okay.
Right. Now that was a big change.
It's no longer the era of blockbuster drugs, you're saying.
Absolutely, much more specialized products, which entail a very different way, and which essentially meant that pharma companies had to look at how they did stuff in a very different way.
What do you mean by much more specialized way? I mean, in a sense, the investment cycle into blockbuster drugs would reduce. So they would focus on existing disease streams and use off-patent products.
So think of not necessary, but let's take an example. I spoke about Lipitor.
Correct.
Right. Take a product which Novartis had called Diovan, right, a hypertension product. So you can take many of these products which impacted many people. Right. I'm sure all of us would know many people who are taking either a hypertensive drug or it's essentially a drug for your cholesterol. Right.
Correct.
Now, close to 35% of growth in pharma today comes from oncology products,
right? Okay.
Which essentially means the number of patients is less in that whole
and therefore the premium on that.
There is a premium on that, but in spite of the premium, it's going to be very difficult to build a $15 billion product in that whole space, because the unmet medical need, right, is in areas where the number of patients is lesser.
Okay, my God. So you get involved there and you strategize that route for them also.
Absolutely, yeah. In fact, we are involved in a very significant way in oncology as a company.
And what other streams do you operate in oncology? The entire medical.
We actually pretty much any large area, mental health, neurosciences, cardiology, everything. Diabetes is a big area for us. So anything which is important from a life sciences therapeutic perspective, we would be involved.
So how's technology playing a role here?
So technology is playing. So let me take a step back. One, at an industry level, technology is playing a role in multiple ways. If you look at the pharma industry, till now, pharma industry generated a lot of their data through the whole trial process on one hand, right? And then ongoing trials, even if a product is in the marketplace, right? That was one way, right? And a lot of the papers, all the stuff was based on that. There is this whole stuff of which is evolving in the pharma industry, a stream called real world data, real world evidence, right? And regulatory FDA itself has taken a very progressive approach in that how do you really take all the data which is generated in real life, electronic medical
that would
records.
Be your wearables
Actually, even before wearables, right? Wearables are still some time to go, right?
This will be everything connected in the hospital. Your ECG machine.
Yeah, absolutely. Your electronic medical records, essentially, even your doctor notes, right? When a doctor has written something, scribbled something, if it's electronic, right, you can make sense out of that data. So that whole data is being used to understand your drug better, the therapy better, right, and many more implications for how you market your product.
So you make sense of that journey.
You make that sense of a journey.
Basically, you're now strategic for these guys because content determines the way they probably tweak the drug in the future.
Yeah, so content determines all the
Because
stuff.
it's data, right, of usage.
Absolutely. So what this is being used is for multiple purposes. First of all, how do I even design my trials better, right? Based on what I'm picking up from real world data. And we just spoke about this $2.6 billion cost, 7 years, 8 years. If you can reduce that, a day impact of a drug launch, right? Which means if you push your drug by one day, just take one day, right? On an average, that has an implication of $15 million.
Just because you're losing market share or something, or
essentially that's the lost revenue, right? Over here, and you're spending so much money. So if you're getting delayed by a day, right, you are kind of the opportunity cost is $15 million. So if you can use this to do your trials faster because you have designed your trials better, the protocols have been designed better. There are many ways, right?
Interesting. What are your thoughts on subjects like AI and blockchain? You're using AI to automate a lot of content.
Absolutely.
Yes?
Absolutely.
That makes sense.
So AI is being used in the life science industry in a very significant way. But what we as Indegene are taking bets on is two things. One is content in a very significant way. I just spoke about what this industry sells is really content, not the pill, right?
Yes.
Now, content is there at the regulatory phase, clinical phase, your medical affairs team, publication data, all that stuff is content.
Yes.
Then when you reach out to a physician when a product is being marketed, right, you're generating content. When you're reaching out to patients for various programs, you're taking content to them. Increasingly, you have content being generated for payers, right, to make sure that you can prove that your drug is really making sense from an economic perspective as well. So we are looking at ways in which you can generate this content in the most effective way to drive much more personalization and increase efficiency and effectiveness across the whole value chain.
Okay.
That's one. The second thing which we are using from a technology perspective and again has an AI component built in is what we call dark data.
Okay.
Right. Till now the industry uses a certain set of data which is easily available and most of that is performance data. If you think about the sales and marketing side, you capture what doctor wrote your prescription, those kind of things, right? If you went to a visit, what data streams did you click on, those kind of things.
That's dark data, is it?
That's not dark data. That's the easily available data. Right?
Exactly.
But there is a bunch of other data which probably you can get, it exists, but you are not really integrating that in your understanding of the landscape, right? That's dark data. A classic example is a physician, which conference did he present in? Yes. What did he present? Whom did he go to school with, college with, right? How could that person impact him, right? Okay. Should you reach out to that XYZ physician? Probably he might have an impact on the other physician for more.
To influence him to buy the drug or...
to buy the drug, influence the drug. And I'm just talking about the marketing side of it. There are a bunch of areas on the whole clinical trial space.
It's interesting. So that's why you're using AI also?
Absolutely.
Okay, so there's value chain work that you're doing. There's dark data capture that you're doing. And what else?
Actually, more than dark data capture, dark data already exists, bringing that stream into pharma companies and building the right algorithms so that they can really impact your decision making and actions.
It's interesting, Manish. I mean, there's so much work happening, and you think that you're like an advertiser for these pharma companies, but an intelligent advertiser using content and finding the right person.
Sure.
Right.
We like to call ourselves more than an advertiser. In fact, if you really think about it, what we are doing is bringing different facets. One is definitely the advertiser part, right? What agencies do, but we also have a very significant amount of technology being thrown in.
Yes.
Right? Some technology which we are developing on our own. We also have some very strategic partnerships, right?
Okay.
We have a very strategic relationship with Microsoft and various things. In fact, we go to the commercial market together with Microsoft.
Okay.
We have various
What's your
tools.
pharma tool called? Microsoft?
So that's called Indegene Omnipresence. So essentially, we have.
It's Microsoft's Omnipresence tool, or?
Actually, it's called Indegene Omnipresence, but it has various Microsoft tools integrated into it, right? And we and Microsoft go to the market together with that tool.
Okay, and we forgot to talk about acquisitions. All 5 from 2012. You made 5. 6.
Yeah.
After 2006, you made.
After 2012, we made 6 acquisitions.
Okay.
Between now.
And what's happened since? I mean, those are strategic technology acquisitions or consulting acquisitions?
Some of them are. There are few of them which were pure play technology acquisitions. one of them we made in Canada, to a based company in Toronto. Was a complete technology acquisition. Another one was a healthcare acquisition in the US, a technology thing. We also acquired services companies in the US, especially. So all our acquisitions were in North America, and as I said, technology and services.
Okay. What do you think about Indian startups? What type of companies, if you work with them in the future, what kind of companies you look forward to?
So we would in the Indian context, what will be definitely interesting for us is companies which are trying to solve various problems using AI analytics in the healthcare space.
Okay, probably technology that can integrate into
our stack and the problems which we see.
And any particular languages that they should be built on, or Java or Python or something?
Honestly,
like that?
you're not. That's
it's okay.
Absolutely. It has to be something more. Stack has to be modern, but we're not really.
It has to be a good team, of course.
Absolutely, that's the most important.
Do you engage with startups in India? Have you met many of them? I know you have a young CEOs club in the USA.
Yeah.
Do you do that here?
Not in we do it in a more informal way. Me, some of my senior colleagues, right? Given we come from various backgrounds, we help startups which are emerging from our colleges, right? I am Ahmedabad from EPHU. I have a co-founder.
So the young CEO thing is a biotech kind of a thing.
That's a pure biotech thing.
Would you see some in India? Probably. I'm not pushing you to it to say an answer yes or no. Maybe does it interest you in a way? Technology companies can be part of that club.
So we are very passionate about that whole area in general. See, if you really look at this industry, it's the global pharma industry is an innovation-driven industry, right? It's based on pure play innovation.
And the innovation cycle is shrinking.
Innovation cycle is shrinking. It's under pressure, right? Now, there are biotechs which are emerging in the US, and they're coming up with very interesting products. Most of the times, biotechs don't go the full length.
These are like $50 million companies.
Actually, most of the biotech companies would not be even 50. They would be
pre-revenue.
Yeah,
because of the molecule, right?
Absolutely. So the value lies in the IP, right?
And they can work with you too. You have propositions for them.
Yeah. So what we do is help them really launch the product in the marketplace, and they don't have to burn the amount of cash they did earlier.
Yeah, obviously, like you said, they don't need to have physical reps selling the drug.
And that makes a very significant impact.
And so you could do digital marketing there, and focus on doctors and hospitals also.
Absolutely,
right. That's an interesting model. You see, I mean, if you're a biotech entrepreneur, you've got molecules. I think you'd know most of them out there. But if there are any young kids doing that, you can contact Manish. Write to him on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a good place to.
Absolutely,
right?
LinkedIn, yeah.
Okay, you guys are 5 entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Right, 5 friends,
co-founders,
5 co-founders, and all of you remained together for 20 years.
Yeah.
How did you guys manage that?
I guess one of the things is while we had our ups and downs, we had real fun in this whole journey, right? And all of us are very passionate about building a innovation-driven company out of India, right?
Okay.
Finally, we want to create a company which is known for making a global impact using innovation in a highly specialized area. We also have very similar value systems at one level.
Very good. And you also delegate tasks for each of you.
Absolutely. Each one of us
different.
Right?
So because you and Radesh, like you said, handle the M&A.
Correct.
And what about Anand and...
so Sanjay and Gaurav focus on the market part. So they are the ones who are out there making pitches with clients, relationships.
Okay.
And Anand handles global delivery operations and stuff.
Okay, it's more of operations kind of thing. And delivering the scope of work.
Yeah.
And the business model here is interesting. I mean, with the automated model, it is a transaction-based fee. It transaction based? I mean, the old world of putting people out there to work is going away.
Correct.
I want people to know that young engineers watch this show. So if they come in, they work as a product in a product company because you're looking at it that way. They cannot come at it from a BPO or a KPO mode. That's gone, right?
Correct.
You
definitely going.
That?
So the way we look at it, in the past, obviously you had more directly people related business models, right? That you get number of people multiplied by a certain cost, and that's how you bill your customers. I think that's clearly going. Customers are putting more and more pressure, and not only for us, for all the industries. So the most important thing we are right now delivering, we have a certain percentage of revenues coming from that, and we are going to push on is an outcome-based pricing model.
Okay.
That we deliver a certain outcome which matters for a pharma company. A classic example is if you're helping you for sales and marketing, we will actually bend the prescription curve for you, period. Right? And from the extra prescriptions, hence revenue we've generated for you, we'll take our share. That's one part. Okay. The second part is transaction based stuff. The kind of things which we do every transaction, every content piece we create for you, we get a share, we get paid. And that incentivizes us to drive efficiency, effectiveness, and all that stuff.
That's very nicely explained, really, Manish. And apart from all this, do you get to read things? Do you spend time with family? Do you get inspired by anything?
Yes, so I definitely spend whatever time is left with family. I'm quite fond of yoga, running, reading books.
Do you get time between US and India because you're traveling so much? Most of the time you're traveling.
I travel to the US pretty much every month, and I spend 1/3 of my time at least.
So you get to run there and do your yoga there.
I make sure I do that.
So you recommend to young entrepreneurs traveling that they have to take these good habits out there too.
I guess if you're doing this, and it's not luxury, you've got to do it to really make sure that you are in reasonable shape. Because as we say, we are trying to impact healthcare globally, and first you have to take care of your own health.
Yeah, you got to eat your own, shit like this. Yeah, you have to do it before you talk.
Yeah, we have a program in our company called My Health Matters, which is there for every employee.
Very interesting. And do you also read?
I do a lot of reading. Yeah.
What do you read today?
So I read. I don't read fiction. Anything which is non-fiction. One of the things which I really like reading is more stuff around trends, geopolitics. Definitely anything to do with technology.
Okay. And any particular authors you'd recommend? You seem to be a fan of Steven Pinker.
I really like Steven Pinker, and I read his recent book called Enlightenment Now. That was a really good book.
Okay.
Max Tegmark was an interesting read. His book Life 3.0 gives a really nice prediction about AI.
So you're looking at these mega trends.
Yeah,
AI is the mega trend actually, right? It seems to be the clear winner of all the other trends that followed.
I would say now, although one of the things which we should closely watch is what happens in the biology side of things. Things like CRISPR and all that stuff from a technology perspective are still evolving. But once they get to a certain level of maturity, then I don't know what all is going to be possible.
So we're going nanoparticles and all that.
More than think about when you're talking about CRISPR, you can really do engineering at a gene level, right?
Yes.
The implications, combine that with AI, then it's going to be a really science fiction world.
Come true. And yet you don't read fiction. That's interesting, right? But on that note, guys, they're also hiring. I'm sure you're hiring.
Absolutely,
right?
always.
And what type, again, technology roles mostly?
Technology, analytics. If you come from a medical background and passionate about technology and change, Indegene is the place.
And if you guys have questions, write into us. We'll get their team to answer it. And I know some of it probably sounded too technical to you, but write to us and get it answered by Manish. Manish, thanks for your time. And the authors you recommended were Steven Pinker and Max Tegmark.
Yeah.
Check them out, guys. Again, Manish, I'll see you in a bit.
Thanks you so much.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, bye.
Thank you. Seriously, you were right. There's mega trends that all of us have to catch. Otherwise, India is going to miss out on a lot.
Absolutely.
So your team in China and all that, they have an AI practice or something?
No, so the team is the AI and tech thing is pretty much